Hi, welcome to Never Is Funny. My name's Patrick O'Connell, and today I'm speaking to one of my oldest friends. He's the author of the YouTube channel Cambrian Chronicles, where he talks about Welsh history. But luckily, to give him a reason to come on this show, he does it with some comedic twists. Anyhow, we also recorded an episode a year ago, which I've re-uploaded with some slightly better editing a couple of weeks ago, so you can also go and listen to that. But, you know, this isn't like a serialized lore podcast. You don't have to listen to that first to understand this one. He's grown a ton since then, just subscriber-wise, gone from 30,000 to 135,000. So he's a big dog now. And in this, we talk about that. We talk about his growth. We talk a bit more about content creation, all that kind of stuff. You know, if creating things, especially stuff like YouTube, is something you're interested in, this is a great episode to listen to because he's got some good thoughts and experiences to share on that. We also, in the later half of the episode, talk about our own project, which is super, super exciting, Dogs of Cambria. And not only do we talk about it, but I'm going to be uploading our little 10-minute introduction episode separately on here. So right after you listen to this, you can go over and give that a listen. And also the regular full episode where we talk about our first topic, Wikipedia's King Doesn't Exist, is going to be uploaded wherever you get your podcasts. So if you're on Spotify, go out to Never Is Funny and type in Mad Dogs of Cambria and give that a listen. Anyhow, that's enough yapping from me. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to the show, where I talk to comedians in the know. That's right. It's Never Is Funny. It's Never Is Funny. The show's it's called Never Is Funny. It's the name of the show, by the way. Never Is Funny. That's the gist of it. The name. The show's called Never. This is like the title music. It's called Never Is Funny. All right. Welcome back to Never Is Funny. This week, I have on again, very special guest. I think I've got to stop saying that you're a special guest because it feels disingenuous to other...
Am I not?
You're special.
Am I not a special guest? It's disingenuous to the other people because they're more special than I am.
Okay, I have my extra special guest on this week. I had once before, about a year ago. Welsh history YouTuber Cambrian Chronicles. I asked for a fun fact just now on the spot, and you provided the great one with it, which is that a couple of weeks ago we spent 4 hours digging through boxes in your attic to find a Chinese knockoff Swampert toy. The Swampert's a Pokemon.
Yes, we did.
I'll upload an image to the Instagram, but do you want to describe it?
I'm looking at it as we speak. Yeah, well, I mean, if anyone's ever played Pokemon, it's, you know, Swampert, but I thought it was real. It's more of a sort of a lilac color than blue, and also his eyes are wonky. But he was my favorite when I was a kid, and I thought I'd lost him. It just popped into my brain. And yeah, like you said, I was like, oh yeah, do you want to try and find him? And how long did that take? At least 3 hours, possibly 4, yeah.
We also found a replica revolver that was possibly illegal.
No, don't phrase like that. It was like one of those fake little guns that shoot darts.
Yeah.
And it was painted to look like a revolver.
But it didn't have the like little orange bit on the bottom.
It didn't, but...
Because you'd taken it off so you could take it into a retail store and hold it up.
Can't be saying these things. Oh, you Googled it, said you didn't need it in the UK? I guess because it's not America.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, so we found that plastic box. I was like, oh, there's a big plastic box. It must be in here. And I opened it. It was just a giant rock.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That must have been horrible to transport around as well. Just a heavy fucking rock.
I mean, I don't know how much transporting I did. Just in a box.
You didn't get that in like a Chinese black market. The black market rock.
For rocks, yeah. It was in the UK. I probably just found it on like a beach. It's about the size. If you like cup your two hands together, it's about that big.
That's fire. Look
in a box, the same size.
But yeah, say hello. And yeah, give yourself a little introduction.
Hello. I'm Cambrian Chronicles, self-proclaimed #1 Welsh history YouTuber, which is the 8th time I think I've said this to you in the past 2 weeks because I know it really gets to you.
Yeah, self-proclaimed every time. And we're going to talk later about our own project, where in the introduction for that you describe yourself as self-proclaimed.
Yeah.
TLDR of it is that I don't get you saying self-proclaimed #1 Welsh history YouTuber because you are.
I'm the one who said it.
Yeah, but you are. You are.
No one else said it.
Look,
if someday someone describes me as that, then we can talk. But for now, it's just me.
But you are. It's not a description.
It is a description. It's still me. How can you describe what someone isn't? Think about it. That's the sound of me tapping my own head. Think about it.
It did really reverberate. I'm going to amplify that 1,000 times in the Audacity. We should do a separate episode where it's just the self-proclaimed debate. This house believes that...
It's 4 hours long.
But yeah, okay. Self or not self-proclaimed number one Welsh history YouTuber. What are you doing on your channel at the moment? Like, what's your current status?
Current status? I'm just making videos. What's your mug say?
There's a bunch of random mugs in my house. This one says, "Bake the world a better place," which is a weird thing for a mug because you don't bake in a fucking mug. So I don't know what that's about. It's false advertising.
You can make mug cakes.
Well, you could.
Didn't think about that, did you?
No.
And now the world is a better place.
Self-proclaimed mug cake.
I thought it said "make cake matter," which I'm not sure why I thought it said that.
Oh god.
It just said "make cake matter."
Because it's only audio, you could just start saying stuff like, "Patrick, why does your mug say all lives matter?"
I thought someone who really likes cake and wants it to be more important.
That's true. But yeah, I mean, you released a video pretty recently, like 4 or 5 days ago now?
It'll be 6 days ago once it reaches 7 p.m.
I watched it recently. I need to rewatch it again because ADHD sieve brain. I frequently have to rewatch your videos. But I know it was about epithets, right?
Yeah, well, one specific one called Gwledig, which is like a untranslatable, really old one that the meaning's been completely lost. And it's doing really well, actually. So far, it's the best one of my videos has ever done within like this time frame.
Oh, brilliant.
So I'm pretty happy with that one, yeah, because the other like 4 did not do very well. So glad people like this one.
Does that tend to be predictable in terms of like, are you able to say like, oh, I expect it to continue at this rate of growth?
By now, yes and no. Like, I think, touchwood, it should be fairly popular. Once it's been like a few days and it's done quite well, it tends to do well overall. I've never had one that just like completely drops off.
Oh, okay.
But I have had that within like 1 or 2 days. Like, it does well now.
Yeah. What does well mean for you now? What's the threshold for like feeling good about?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, really. I always want all of my videos to be better than anything else I've ever made.
Yeah.
Which is very unrealistic and borderline completely impossible. Which is good. So that's always a good mentality to have. If something reaches like 1 million views, that's like the peak. I've only ever done like 3 times. 4 times now, as of yesterday.
Yes, Wikipedia's king doesn't exist.
Yes, I reached it yesterday after about 6 months, which I was very happy with.
Which is fantastic. Also, again, a very interesting, because I wanted to talk a bit comparison-wise. The last time you were on the show, which you can go and listen to now, the remastered 2023 episode a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
We talked about your channel was at, back then you were at, I think, about 30,000 subscribers. I just checked now, you're at 135. And in that video, we're talking about, I think we mentioned one of your videos that has done the most well at the time had 600,000 views.
Yeah, that was my Union Jack video one. That's on, yeah, it had 1 million views by now.
God damn.
I know, I was going to say, listening back to that one, it was really bizarre. It's been a year, almost a year exactly, we figured out as well.
Yes.
It was almost quite existential. I can speak English. I really can't, actually. If somebody speaks so much, I can't.
So you have to do a Welsh history channel.
Yeah.
You can only pronounce Welsh historical names.
Unironically, my worst pronunciations are always the English words, in my opinion. I mess up the Welsh ones sometimes, but anyways, it was quite existential because like, last year we had like uni exams still at university, had about 35,000 subscribers. Had just done my King Arthur video, which took like 8 weeks to make.
Yeah.
And even in that video, I say like, oh, in the future, I might have to change my style and adapt and keep going. Because like 3 videos from then, I moved to sort of the 3D kind of stuff that I do now.
Yes.
The music that I use has changed. The way I write is different. Everything's very different. Like if I go back and watch one of those old ones, it feels completely different. It still feels like something I've made, but like completely separate.
I definitely get that. I mean, I found that with this show a little bit. Less so because I've had less time and less growth with it. But one thing I'm still trying to work on, particularly because my girlfriend's always pointing this out to me when I ask her to listen to my introductions.
Oh, okay. Oh, I get it.
She constantly is annoyed by the fact that, especially with my earlier things, the structure of the introductions is very, the way I talk is very like unnatural. It's very like, hey, welcome
your
back
American
to the show.
Presenter voice,
Yeah. Which is something I'm trying to get away from a little bit. But that's been kind of a slower change that's still going. Wait, you mentioned with your, like, is it a specific video where there was a big shift, or was it more of a slower?
Yes. These always happen, really. My 4 most popular videos ever have always come after a general lull or a very specific video that's done really terribly.
Yeah.
You asked me earlier, like, what counts as doing well, which I never really answered because that's how we always conversate.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, ultimate goal is if it reached like 1 million views at some point, I'm like, well, that's perfect. I could not ask for any more than that. But normally they end up around 250 to 300,000 nowadays, and that's like good. So I sort of want to do more than that, would be like, well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's confusing. My brain's weird.
No, same. I mean, this two neurodivergent people on a podcast. Like a social experiment.
Yeah, like I said, like all my best videos, my 4 most popular ones have come after like a general lull. And
sorry,
you're right.
I just got a text from my mom saying
the house is on fire. You have to get out.
So my sister's doing art exam stuff at the minute. She's drawing in the next room, and my mom's like helping her out so they can hear what I'm saying. And I assume when I was doing the bit talking about my girlfriend, she sent me a message 2 minutes ago saying she also prefers you in butch boy clothing? ?
What?
That's my mom's contribution.
Why did she say that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, well, sure.
No, I suppose not. Anyway, sorry, so back to what you were saying. The reason we're doing this.
So all my popular videos have come after a lull. Either one specific video that hasn't done very well, or like in general. And my first video I did on the Union Jack that basically started off my whole channel was after like 9 months of it not going very well because I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I wasn't taking any steps to improve it, which of course is a terrible decision to make for 9 months. And then the Missing Kingdoms one was similar. Like I wanted to try a bit more of like a mystery writing because I like historiography, I like mysteries. And the channel was doing okay. It's sort of, the views had kind of gone down a bit again. And then this one, which is my video on Penguin, I'd been doing basically the same visual style with a few tweaks for over a year, and it'd been doing okay, but not enough. Like I wasn't happy with how it looked, and I wasn't happy with how it was presented. So that was the aim, really, to just do something different.
Yeah.
And I was just sort of waiting for what that could be. And then I saw that video by a channel called Bobby Broccoli. He'd done a video about a guy who'd faked an element. Okay. That was really popular. I didn't watch that one, but because his stuff had been popular, I got recommended one of his like earlier ones.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's so cool. And he'd done like a tutorial on how to make it. It was like pioneered by a guy called John Boyce.
Oh, okay.
Who is now also one of my favorite channels ever. And he'd done a tutorial on how to make it, and I'd watched some of that stuff, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. I want to try also doing that style, but for stuff I make.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where that came from, basically. It came right at the perfect time. And that was my video on Penguin, my most popular video ever, as of right now.
What would you say are the hallmarks of your current style, then?
As of right now, I like... let me think. I love historiography, not just the general, like you go to a lot of history things or even on TV and it's just, here's the story, in quotes, which of course is just one interpretation of it. I don't like that stuff. I like to go over everything, if I can, as much as you possibly can over everything, which is why sometimes they end up being too long.
From my very naive perspective, is kind of the core part of history really anyway, isn't it? Like interpretations and revisionism.
Sure, you could argue about what like the central aspects of history is, but to me, it sort of is what history is.
Yeah.
As you go through time, what changes, how interpretations change, past stuff gets criticized and adapted and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff. And no one ever really talks about it, really. So I like to be able to do that. And I like a good little mystery vibe because so much of that stuff has been lost or erased or replaced that it's a really interesting sort of framing that I love. And luckily, which is great when you hit this mix, other people like to watch.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff I'd love to make that no one would ever like to watch, i.e. all of my earliest videos.
Yeah.
But nowadays, they don't mind watching them. So that's the core part, really, like the kind of mysteries that happen to history over time. Some funky ambient music. funky ambient music.
Yeah, I do love the funky music. I think I've noticed over time the way you use it has felt a bit more purposeful.
I've gotten better at it.
I love when you do you'll be talking about something and they'll be like doo-ba-doo-ba-doo in the background, like exactly like that. That's exactly what it sounds like. And you'll be going like, and so I was looking at the Wikipedia article for this, but wait. And then right as you say, but wait, the music will suddenly cut out and then it will like come back in a different thing.
Yes, I do like.
Which is, is very good.
Thank you. I like, it's fun to do that.
When I asked about your style, it's interesting that you described like talking about historiography and stuff. How core would you say your visual style is to your videos then?
Well, to me, what popped in my head sounded so stupid.
What was it?
It's just, It's like inserted stuff. Have you seen the this part is not technically. Have you ever seen the Mr. Bean movie?
I actually haven't. I know the guy. I know of the guy.
Carson Clay, Willem Dafoe plays.
You're obsessed
that
with fucking Carson Clay. I don't know who it is.
Is that his name? But I feel like that. I feel like his spirit moved into me because what popped into my head was, ready for this, that the visuals are just the medium of the video.
Yeah.
Or to say it more simply, the video is the video.
I mean,
but what that, yeah.
No, to be fair, I don't think that is that stupid, because I know what you mean. Like, in the literal terminology, the videos of it, but yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's not, the video isn't just the image of it.
Yeah, I'm not tied to it. Like I said, like, I like that 3D style that John Boy sort of pioneered. I've only used predominant Google Earth in one video. I'd love to do that more. The opportunity doesn't come up that often.
What programs do you use mainly then?
Google Earth is obviously what I use for Google Earth. You kind of have to do that. And that's how you make the sort of 3D stuff. And then PowerPoint's actually really useful for a lot of the 2D stuff. If you have a lot of practice, I've been making crap on there since I was like a kid. So I have a lot of practice with that stuff. So all my earliest videos are made on.
So you still use PowerPoint then?
Yeah, if anything's come up on the screen that's flat 2D, that's not like moving around a little bit, is on there.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, surprisingly quite useful once you know what you're doing. But yeah, the visuals, like I said, I just sort of started doing that because I found that tutorial.
Yeah.
And I found two very brilliant creators. So I was like, oh, wow, I would love to be able to take that kind of medium of the 3D moving and try it out in my own way.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's just because that was the time. Like, if I ended up watching that like a year earlier, I might not have ever thought that. And if I saw something else really interesting at that time, I might have done something else. What I'm saying really is in the future it could change again. I'm not super beholden to what it looks like, really.
Which is good, I think, because as you talked about, adapting and changing seems to be very key to being successful as a content creator in general, I guess.
Yeah, I think you always have to. You see some channels, you see a lot of channels really just sort of do the same thing for years and years and years and years. And in a sense, I think you can get trapped by that in two directions. If it doesn't work, which is what I had for about 9 months, so I'm speaking from experience. If it doesn't work and you just keep trying, you're like, oh, maybe it'll work this time, maybe it'll work this time, maybe it'll work this time. And it's, I don't know what the word would be. It's not like addicting, but it's sort of...
comforting?
Yeah, in a sense, it's almost like some sort of, I'm sure it's some sort of fallacy.
Yeah.
Because you lose track of it. Like all of a sudden it's been 9 months and you've just been doing it again and again and again. And the answer is just that it hasn't been working. Yeah. And you have to face that.
The definition of insanity thing, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
I don't think I think that's a Far Cry.
No, isn't it?
One time we were at a pantomime in the village where I grew up.
Yeah.
And we were with a group of friends. There's a guy, two of them knew each other a bit better, and he was kind of like pushing his buttons. And he turned to him and said, put his hand to his head and said, do you want to know the definition for insanity?
That's fire. Top 10 Reddit comebacks.
That was Gregory Daniels, which you have to cut out, obviously, because we can't
I'll
bring
cut that.
That's why I told that story to you in such a weird way. I don't want to mention people's names, but...
Or I won't, actually.
And you weren't there for that one.
I'm not going to cut that. I'm just going to replace it with a different name.
Gregory Daniels. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I said you could get trapped in that one way.
In the loop,
That's the definition of insanity from Far Cry.
I swear that's a real thing, not just from Far Cry.
No, it's from Far Cry made it up. Just like how they invented video games. And the tropics in that one. Was that 3?
That's true. And white people.
They did. No, that was Jakob. Shout out to everyone who understands that reference.
I only vaguely do.
Yeah, you wouldn't get it.
Okay, wait, can we do... I wanted you to explain... What is it? Like a conspiracy theory that some guy with a big head invented white people?
Yeah, I know a little bit about it through various Instagram memes. That it was someone supposedly from Africa with a very big head who created white people. I don't know why or for what purpose or where it's come from and if it's like a recent thing, because you know what I mean? It sounds like it could be some really old legend or something that a really American religious cultist made up in the 1970s. It has the exact vibe as either of those things.
I'll have to invite Jakob on Never As Funny. But yeah, again, getting stuck in the loop.
Yeah, you can get trapped. I've seen a lot of channels, because I was there as well, where you just sort of do the same thing over and over again. And if it doesn't work, you just sort of get stuck and it's kind of, it's difficult to sort of accept you can't do it exactly how you want to do. And you have to go about and do something different, which is what I did. And it worked, really. I would still be on 600 subscribers if I was just like, oh,
yeah,
the algorithm's suppressing my content because people don't want to click on it. And if they do, they don't want to watch it.
Do you ever find that frustrating, having to do that? Like, are there other times when there's something that's not working that you really like or like feel passionate about, but you can't keep using? Does it ever like get to you?
Yeah, I don't think it gets to me, but I do, especially when I first started out, it was difficult to be like, okay, I need to do something different. But it's also helpful to think like, if I can change this, will it be better? And it was like, that was my Union Jack video, the first one that really took off.
Yeah.
And it was really, really fulfilling even just to have that actually pay off, to be worth something, you know, to actually work.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than all like the 200 views ones I had earlier. You can get also trapped in the reverse orders. What I mentioned earlier is like, if you do something that does work, and then you get those channels that have been around for quite a long time that just sort of do the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because it does work, but eventually,
eventually it runs
starts
out.
to sort of die off. Yeah, that's almost more horrifying.
Yeah.
Because if you're in like the bottom of the pit and nothing's working, you can only really go up from there. Like, technically, it would have been possible for me to change something and have made worse videos, but that'd be quite difficult if no one's watching them in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
If you've been on YouTube for like 15 years and all of a sudden the views are going down and nothing's working,
it's horrifying.
and all your core audience don't want you to change anything, but that group of people are slowly
Shrinking,
shrinking. It's like
yeah.
being on a sinking ship.
Yeah.
I'm pretty scared if that ever happens to me. Hopefully it won't.
The fall of an empire.
I'm too erratic for that to happen to. I always make changes, and every now and again I get comments being like, oh, I liked this older thing, and something I didn't even really realize that I'd done differently.
I mean, there's something really eerie with YouTube channels, especially for us our age. I think we talked about this a bit last time you were on, how we both grew up watching YouTube.
Yeah.
And how it's been around long enough now that there are channels that were hugely, massively popular when you're kids. And if you look at them now, they're still going, still doing the same kind of stuff, but it's like a wasteland.
Yeah.
It's almost like eerie.
Yeah, think of the ones we were talking about where they've reached a few thousand views.
Yeah.
Or like tens of thousands when they've subscriber counts in the multiple millions. That is properly really depressing, because at that point it's not even really worth it. It's just it's almost like a habit. It's like trying to get someone to quit smoking.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's possible that maybe if you're comfortable like monetary wise and you enjoy doing
if
it,
you've made
then
like
it's not
enough
so
money
bad.
over time. Yeah, I didn't mean to be like, oh, they're so dumb, they don't realize it, but always just like kind of like
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It's just always kind of sad to see something just sort of completely collapse.
Have you ever had the opposite then? Have you ever had like making a change that you're excited about that you thought this is really going to grab people and then it didn't? There's a little bit of silence there. I want to clarify that was Cam doing a long, slow nod.
So I forgot that people can't see me. That has happened before. Even though, like I said earlier, it'd be almost impossible to make a change and do something worse when you already have no views. If people are watching you, then it's extremely possible.
Yeah.
My video I did recently on the mountains.
Yes.
What did I call it? The mountains that lost their names? Something like that.
Yeah.
And yes, that one did really, really badly.
I remember that. I mean, I want to give context, just to give the level of YouTubership that Cam is at. Really, really badly does still mean like 300 plus thousand views.
Oh, no. No, 45,000, I think it was last time I saw it.
Oh, wow. Which, okay, yeah.
300,000 is perfect. I'd love to get 300,000 views.
I mean, to be fair, 45,000
not at that stage yet.
Still a lot of people. But yeah, I know what you mean, comparatively.
Yeah, I'm always great. I'm never going to be like, oh,
yeah,
nobody watched it, because the people who did watch it, and people who did watch it really liked it.
I wasn't trying to go like, oh, boo-hoo.
No, I get it, because I mean, we did have this conversation in real life. Like, you do kind of lose, like, that is still a lot of people. You could fill like a stadium with that, and I'm always going to be really grateful. I guess it's a me problem being like, oh, I wanted to do really, really well.
Yeah, but I've been there.
It happens to everybody. Like, I'm sure there'll be some stage, there'll be a YouTuber who gets like 1 million views on a video. It's like, oh, this didn't do very well.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, it didn't do as well as I hoped. It did pretty badly. It's actually my worst performing video ever.
Yeah.
Beating out that letters video that you like and not many other people.
Oh, I do love the letters video.
I love the letters video. That could have got 3 views. I love that thing. It's so stupid.
It's brilliant. I love the thumbnail where it just says gross.
Yeah. I'm tempted to bring that back. I did change it, update it with the other style. To be honest, I might bring the old one back. It is a classic.
Yeah.
It makes me physically sick.
So to give a description of it, it's like... So the video itself is about...
It's got a blue background.
Is it about letters that have fallen out of use in Welsh?
Yeah, sort of medieval letters used in Welsh that aren't used anymore.
Yeah. So it's a picture of one of those in the middle of the screen, and then some text that says like, what exactly does it say?
It was 3 letters, I think, and it had a text box next to them that said like, gross, disgusting, makes me physically sick, something like that. I don't know what I was on when I made that.
That's brilliant. It's really upsetting that didn't do well.
Such a stupid idea. Yeah, well, honestly, I don't mind because it's so silly. And back then, I only had like 100 subscribers, so it was destined to.
Yeah.
The game was rigged from the start.
Could you talk a little bit about what it was you changed with that mountains video? Like what didn't work?
The video itself, because YouTube does tell you that stuff. It's not the most descriptive, but you can figure it out. The video itself did pretty well in terms of like how much people watched. It's actually my most ever. On average, people would watch like 10% more of it than they would a normal video.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lot of really positive feedback from the people who did watch it. I think the issue really was people didn't want to click on it. It wasn't an interesting topic, really.
Right.
The click-through rate was very low, and the impressions rate was super...
It's okay, I can noise gate that.
Mom? She can't. That's the irony.
It's not too bad, I can okay. Welcome back to the Never Is Funny show. With just me, Patrick. I'm on my own now. And it's warm in here. But not warm enough. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry about that.
That's alright. I did a little bit of improv. It was really, really funny.
I can't wait to listen. But yeah, I think the issue with that video is that people didn't want to click on it. The concept wasn't as interesting to people, which is common to be fair. That one did almost comically poorly.
Yeah.
The impressions are really, really low. As I think I said to you, like, if it did like just quite badly, I'd be like, oh, that's quite disappointing because I worked really hard on it. But it did so poorly compared to the other ones that it was just so funny. YouTube literally told me that didn't even bother recommending it to like the majority of people who subscribe to me.
Could you explain a bit about what impressions are for the uninitiated?
Yeah. So every time, if you ever opened YouTube, any video that you've seen on your screen for, I think it's supposed to be about 3 seconds.
Okay.
So as long as you're not just like rapidly scrolling through, that counts as an impression.
Okay.
So every time you're shown a video, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So people were shown that way less. Imagine like opening a thing, like, oh, by the way, this didn't do very well, and so poorly to the fact that we're not even going to bother showing it to more people.
Do you get a good ratio with impressions? Like, are they that useful for you in YouTube? So, for example, I get them on for this podcast, and the ratio of, like, it goes up and down, but sometimes I might have thousands of impressions, like times that mine podcast have been shown to someone. I think some of them are just stuff like, if people search on Spotify comedy podcast, it might come up in the list. And it does not directly translate into like actual listens at all. Is it more useful on YouTube?
Yeah, well, the rate will always be very low. My rate, on average, about 4 to 5% people will click on it if it's doing well. Yeah. It can go as low as 3, and the really, really popular ones will drop down to like 2.5 just because of that point. If it's got over like 1 million views, it'll have 2%. Hang on. If 2%'s 1 million, what's 100%?
2%?
50 million?
5,000 million.
Find the number of this
or
one.
5 billion, I guess.
Oh, it can't be 5. Okay, it can't be 5. That's not possible. I can't have had 5 billion fucking impressions. 27 million. Oh, it's 3. My mistake. So yeah, even the most popular ones will drop down to about 3.5%.
Okay.
All my most popular ones will be between 5 and 6%. Sorry, I got that one slightly wrong.
Oh, okay.
But that's because the most popular ones, like my video on Penguin, it said 27 million impressions. Yeah. Just because it did really well. So, but yeah, the numbers will always be quite low.
Okay, that's interesting. So I think, I'm not entirely sure when you're going to be hearing this little middle bit because I'm going to be inserting it wherever the middle is. But hopefully I've chosen what is a good time for us to go to our little middle section where I read a song to get around copyright issues. Cam, do you have a song you'd like me to do?
Boy, do I.
I'm very afraid.
Well, I had 4 ideas.
And I know that they're all ways that you could fuck with me. Every single one.
The problem with getting a certified yapper on your podcast, you asked what I would call myself? That's what I'd call myself.
Certified yapper. I'm not a guru. I'm just a yapper.
Full-time YouTuber, certified yapper.
Forced to YouTube, born to yap.
My first idea was actually a Louis Armstrong song I've been listening to for a while. Called Stardust brackets alternate take. Don't mix them up.
Yes.
But I didn't want to suggest that for you because I know you're going to do your best to do a Louis Armstrong impression, and I can't be responsible for that to be let out into the world.
Actually, wait. Can you very quickly do... I can't, but can you very quickly do the like...
Mine's...
Please, it's so good.
It's not actually good. You think it's good.
You can do the gutturalness.
What do you want me to say?
Just do like he's got the whole world in his hands or something. Come on, you can do it.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah! But the thing is, though, I will accept, it is not good. It's just you think it's good.
But I think you've got the...
You also think cigarettes are good.
Exactly, so. But I smoke cigarettes and I can't do that deep guttural voice you do.
It's all the whiskey.
Oh, yeah. But yes, okay. So, with that cleared, what is the actual song you'd like me to do?
Well, the second idea was a song with no lyrics. You'd set up your little recording thing and you'd pull up and like, okay, what do I have to record? It's just nothing.
That sounds brilliant, honestly. That's just such a nice...
Third idea. A song called Dawn Chorus by Tom York. Yes, the guy from Radiohead. No, I don't listen to that much Radiohead because my mum never listened to it because she went out with a guy who liked it a lot.
Oh.
So that was never imprinted on me. Actually, Trey, if you ever listen to Dawn Chorus by him, you can tell why I like it. It kind of sounds like a song I would have in one of my videos.
Yeah.
But that's like 5 minutes of... It has a lot of lyrics. That'd be like a prison sentence for you, basically. You'd be talking for like 40 minutes. So the actual song, I decided to be nice to you.
Thank you.
So finally, the fourth idea...
Okay. You hold up 3 fingers.
Forgot you can't see me. So the fourth idea finally was a song I'd listened to recently called Stars Will Fall by Duster.
Okay. Oh, Duster, yeah.
I think they had like a song that was popular on TikTok a little while ago. Yeah. To be fair, that's a great song.
Brilliant.
Perfectly valid to be on there.
Stars Will Fall by Duster. Okay. You're about to hear him fall, baby.
I wonder why I chose that one.
I'm quite afraid, but I'm about to find out. And so are you, listeners. Okay. See you after the break. It's the middle section. And oh, Cam, you fucker. Although, see, you think you've punked me here with what I'm about to read, but in reality, you've just made this so much easier for me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I need to pee really, really bad right now. I was like, I'll just crank out this middle section, let's get my teeth through it. And turns out, not gonna be a problem. Alright, so, like Cam said, his middle choice is Stars Will Fall by Duster. And here's the reading. All we know is that stars will fall, and holidays come and go. Alright, well that's it. I hope this has been enough of a break. If it hasn't been, find Cambrian Chronicles on YouTube, and comment under his latest video, I wish the stars would fall longer. Right, back to the show. I wanted to ask for almost like a thesis statement, I guess. Like, what conclusions have you reached over the past year of doing the channel, really? And what's it been like? Because, again, you've progressed as well from when I originally met you, you were still at university, so you're balancing it with all of that stuff, whereas now it is, you know, essentially like your full-time job.
I guess, yeah, technically it's my full-time job. It's not like I make like a huge quantity of money off of it, but it's enough to sustain myself at least. So yeah. I'm happy with that. And I definitely could make more if I just got like a full-time job. But I'm happy doing this. It's also, I've never really asked for like, I don't know, Patreon donations and stuff, because I don't want to be like, oh, I want to do this, give me money so I can do it
right,
better.
Yeah. It's a big commitment as well, because you'd have to be able to make the extra content for it, I assume, or...
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, if I ever did, I would probably do that as kind of what I've landed on. Like, I've got a bunch of like shorter ideas, like bonus episodes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I would never want to just be like, oh, here's Patreon, give me money, I will just make more videos. I don't know. If other people do that, obviously that's fine. I'm just not personally comfortable with doing that.
Yeah,
because if I wanted just more money, I should probably just go do something else.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure as well to, like, moral pressure, I feel, to, because, yeah, if people are paying, you're like, oh, like, currently if your videos don't do well, it sucks, but it's just, I assume it doesn't feel that much like you're letting people down. Whereas if it's a paid service, then the stakes, at least to me, would feel higher in terms of, oh, people paid for this and didn't like it.
Yeah, there'd be more of a stake for people to let down. Like, if they didn't like that video, they've also gave me money in support of it, so it's kind of a...
Yeah.
But, what have I learned over a year? Gosh, I think I joked even last time. I said it so often in your last podcast that I don't ever sound like a guru.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say that again.
I think you said, you're not a guru, you're just a guy, was the phrase you used. It's very wholesome.
That's always my thesis statement.
Yeah.
I've always seen myself as that. I've never seen myself as anything more than just like a guy who makes these videos. I think that also plays into the part where like, I don't think, oh, I'm a full-time YouTuber. It's like, oh, the channel on AdSense revenue makes enough for me to physically like live on.
Yeah.
this is going to sound so abstract. That's sort of like a fact almost. It's not a part of me. That just sort of happens to be how it is.
You don't necessarily see yourself as like a YouTuber or like an influencer or content creator.
No, it's just sort of like, I love making this stuff. I love teaching people this stuff.
Yeah.
If I can make enough to live off of, that's great. If I couldn't, then I'd still do it. It'd just have to be more infrequent.
Yeah.
Because I'd have to get a job somewhere as well.
Which is brilliant. I think that's the best type of content to produce and come across, I think, is... are you getting raided by the police? I hope that shows up on the Audacity, otherwise that's going to be a bizarre statement to make.
Schizophrenic
Yeah.
ass podcast host.
They're here.
Me as a trip sitter.
Yeah, you're being really weird right now. But yeah, the best content I feel to both to produce and engage with is stuff where it's, you know, like a passion project. Like same with this. I mean, especially because
and it always wants to be something you
at
love.
the minute this isn't something that's profitable for me. It'd be nice if it was, but yeah, I just enjoy doing it.
Oh, hopefully soon. Because I did at YouTube for almost a year without it being enough to do anything off of.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely understand, like, it's quite difficult to... But at the time I was in university, so it probably would have helped out more than it could do now, to be honest.
Right, yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I understand. But yeah, I never really see myself as like a full-time YouTuber.
Where do you see it going from now? Do you think much about the future of the channel and stuff?
Oh yeah, all the time. That's always like a constant thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like you know me, obviously. We're both very neurodivergent. I was so neurodivergent, I got diagnosed when I was a kid, which is not a super common thing to happen.
Yeah, me too.
So always like, hey, you know what? Yeah.
I think same thing happened to both of us. We were both diagnosed with neurodivergent conditions as a kid, and then our parents were like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I don't mention it to you until you're about 19. Oh, that's why I feel like an alien. Shout out to them. Yeah. It's all right now with the end, but...
Yeah. Oh, that's why I dropped out of university.
That's why I did so badly. I did I did terribly in school. University, I did better in uni than I did in GCSE.
All right.
Well, I was going to say we did the opposite, because you did great GCSEs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's one of my main accolades, my GCSEs. But yeah.
I was going to say, as a very neurodivergent brain, I have a lot of very niche special interests, obviously. You mean, have you seen the channel? If I ever had a channel I just make like whatever I want to make, it would have 4 views, all of which were me. And they'd be just the most bizarre, inane things you've never heard of before. And one of them happens to be very specifically YouTubers talking about channels that aren't going very well. And that is very weird. And there's not even like a sense like I sit back, I go, haha, they're failing. It's like, oh, this is really interesting to see something not go as well, like the aspects of it, them talking about how they could improve it or how it's not going so well. It's probably my nichest special interest to hear people discuss their own projects, like how it didn't go so well. I hear a lot of people talk about how like even people who are successful constantly think about YouTube and constantly think about like what to do next and how the channel's going to look like in the future. And I haven't reached that stage yet. Yeah. And hopefully I never will. I feel like hopefully it's so odd sense of neurodivergent enough to just be like, yeah, it's fine. Because in the end it is fine. Like if the channel suddenly stops working, I'd just do something else really. Yeah. As long as I don't become homeless.
Which is a good attitude to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could stand on streets with a sandwich board like screaming Welsh history at passersby.
In my mind, it's always I'm in a very privileged position where after spending 2 years on YouTube, because there's a lot of work. If anyone's watching this and wants to do YouTube, never believe anyone who says it's quick or easy, because I've seen plenty of people talk about that. It is not.
I've seen your experience with it. I mean,
especially that first part. Yes. I'm sure there's people out there who can just make things, they're so talented they could do it so easily, but it is not fact. No. And yeah, so it's taken a lot of work to get to that point where I can be privileged enough to basically do this as like my job. Yeah. So in that sense, I'm not existential about it. I don't sort of sit there thinking, oh, where's it going to be in a year? What happens if it doesn't work? Like, I don't know, like you sort of sit in the present and you think, you know, it's working right now. My goal by the next year, I want to reach 200,000 subscribers. Yeah. And that's about it. Like, if I don't reach that, I'll be disappointed, but it's not the end of the world as long as people still watch it. Yeah. And if they don't watch it, try something different. Definitely. And I'm always very aware. People talk about being like acutely aware of the passage of time on the internet. I feel like I'm more acutely aware, having grown up in rural Powys with like a single parent. We'd all stay in one room so that we'd save money by having one light on. He's sort of very aware of the privilege to be able to be alive doing something that you really want to do.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I would gladly sacrifice potential of having much more money doing, I don't know, some sort of different career in exchange for doing something I really want to do. And something that's actually helpful. Like if that I was doing that and I was making like, I don't know, like 2015 prank videos, I think I'd just be so depressed all the time.
Well, that's the fantastic thing about your content is you get a lot of comments saying things like, oh, wow, I didn't know much about this. This is becoming an interest of mine via your videos, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and those are always my favorite. And I think there's the two conclusions I drew from starting off on YouTube is that there isn't a huge audience of people who already are aware of Welsh history and want more of it.
Yeah.
Because they don't teach that stuff in schools, as we both know.
Yeah. We both went to school in Wales, so it says something.
So there is absolutely a potential.
Yeah.
When I started off my channel, the highest Welsh history video ever was by a channel called Overly Sarcastic Productions, called Welsh History Summarized. And that had 1 million views when I started. To me, I was like, okay, that's the max. I reckon I could get a video to be that popular, but it's never going to be more than that. And through some bizarre way of which I could never hope to possibly predict, the most popular video on Welsh history now is my video on Penguin with 1.6 million.
That's fantastic. I mean, it might partly be unpredictable, but a big part of it, I think, like you said, is just hard work.
Yeah, there's always a huge degree of unpredictability. I made that video thinking it was going to do well, but I make all of my videos thinking they're going to do well. I felt that one. It's a kind of a weird, I don't know, weird sort of sense. Like you make it and you feel it and everything sort of came together. I would watch the whole thing and everything came together and I thought, if this doesn't do so, in my head, they're like my precipice videos.
Yes.
Like if this doesn't do very well, then that's like a big problem because I have to really try really hard again.
Right, yeah.
But my one on Penguin, I tried really, really hard. It took ages in the middle of university exams, getting every person's opinion I could possibly get on every aspect of it. All the music, I had people recommend music to me.
Right.
That they'd found on like other videos, like, oh, this sounds cool. Can we find it? It's like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes YouTube will have it in the bottom.
Right, yes, I've seen that.
I listen to so much of the ambient section on YouTube. I listen to so much of it's called Dance and Electronic.
Yeah.
Surprisingly not as upbeat as it makes it sound. Fortress Europe is a song on there. The one that goes like boom, 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 boom.
Oh yeah, that one.
Which is my personal favorite. I found that on there and I recognized it was used in like a Bobby Broccoli video and in like a few others. It's quite a popular one. And I was like, okay, this is perfect. I have to use that. And it sort of all came together. And even though, I think this is how you tell it all came together, because even though I mispronounced some of the stuff, I mixed up some of the names because some of the Anglo-Saxon names are literally off by a single letter.
Yeah.
And I mixed a couple of them up a few times.
You idiot.
But some of the animation was glitchy, some of the names are wrong, some of the writing could have been better, but in the end, it was still something I was really, really proud of.
That's fantastic.
And it paid off really well. I think that's how you tell if it works, because in the end, that stuff doesn't matter.
Yes.
I don't have to look and be like, okay, this is what I can improve.
Yeah.
It's just, this is stuff that didn't go quite as well on something that is successful.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So for the last little bit of this podcast, I think it would be good if we spent it talking about our own personal project, which is Mad Dogs of Cambria. And that name might sound vaguely familiar to you because I'm speaking to Cambrian Chronicles. And there's a reason for that, which is that it is a podcast we're doing together. Do you want to talk, since this is still an interview with you, I don't want to take the limelight. Do you want to talk a little bit about what it is?
Yeah, well, I guess it was a way for Welsh history in a different medium. We've done self-proclaimed ¡1 Welsh history channel on YouTube. That's me. So now together we can do that for podcasts as well.
The group.
Oh yeah.
Words are hard sometimes. It may be evident to this you listening, we've had about a 5.5 hour gap between this section and whatever was previous. So if we do sound slightly more tired, that'll be why.
Siesta,
yeah.
See your camera's pitch black outside.
Yeah, I've had to move to my...
And I look like a threatening hostage message with my one lamp.
Because I'm in my family house, I've had to move to a different room again, which is the kitchen. So there's a big window behind me, and it is pitch dark rural Wales outside. It looks like there's a black curtain.
I hope at some point there's like a big thunder. There's like a...
I hope so too. At least
like a face in the background.
I finally have some fucking social interaction.
To be fair, that thing in the corner does kind of look like a face in your bottom right. I don't. At least I hope it's not. By the plant pot.
By the plant pot. This thing.
Gets him every time. What the hell's that?
But yeah, definitely a different medium. So we wanted to work on something together for ages, since like high school, basically. And I think I originally propositioned this to you because I wanted to work with you on something. I thought vaguely about if it would be a good idea for me to feature on one of your YouTube videos, but that felt like a weird thing to ask for, except, you know, it's your thing. It didn't feel like it would necessarily fit. And so, yeah, the idea of a podcast where we go through stuff sounds pretty cool. But yeah, your role is the self-proclaimed historian?
I wouldn't call myself a historian.
Well, it's a me. Yeah, you're a me-proclaimed historian.
Others proclaimed, but just for you.
How are you feeling about it? Like, we've done a little bit of recording already. In fact, we'll plug it at the end, but by the time this comes out, you'll be able to hop over to Mad Dogs and listen to the first episode.
Yeah.
But how have you felt so far with it? Just delivering something in a different medium, kind of similar to what you've done before, but also sharing the limelight with me. Yeah, well, I don't know if that's weird.
I never minded sharing the limelight. I think it'd be weird if I had a podcast with just me by myself. Do people do podcasts by themselves?
They do, actually. I mean, weirdly, I probably shouldn't say this because it undercuts our one a bit, but quite a few history podcasts, I think, are solo. Like,
oh, you can't get anywhere by being the same.
That's true. That's very true. But yeah, I think what's especially good about our dynamic, there's a couple other podcasts with this sort of dynamic that I like.
Yeah, the historian and the fun.
Yeah.
The two white guys.
The smart guy and the fucking moron. Yeah, again, like, what does it feel like doing it compared to making videos so far?
So far, it's actually been pretty fun because it's much less structured. Although I love writing is my favorite part of the videos, but it's also the most difficult.
Right.
So having that part removed, I'm very bad at collecting my thoughts. But if you're the one editing the audio, most like I feel bad that you have to edit that stuff.
I don't mind at all. I like editing, and I especially like editing our stuff. Unfortunately, there's a lot of, especially because we're close friends, there's so much stuff that I have to cut out because it's just inside humor between us that nobody else would get.
I think that helps. We've known each other for a long time, and we're both certified yappers, as you could say, so we...
Definitely.
And it's fun. And I like also, because you could find it on YouTube as well. Would it be ready by the time this goes out?
I'm not entirely sure. I think possibly not.
The introduction is, at least.
The introduction, definitely. So what will be up when you listen to this, 100%, will be a little introduction, which is also going to be uploaded here on Never Is Funny. So you can click over to that, where we, introduce the show. There will be a little What is Wales episode, which for most of my listeners who are in the UK probably sounds like an insane proposition. But on your channel, for instance, you get a lot of people who are like, I'd literally never heard of Wales before, right?
Yeah, I got quite a few comments. I did a poll about it a while ago, and only 1% said they'd never heard of Wales, which is lower than I was expecting, but it's still a fairly decent 1 in 100 people.
Or at least a decent amount who only have a very vague concept of what it is. Like, I feel like most Americans have a very vague...
Oh, definitely, yeah. Definitely. I remember my mum, when she lived in America, was asked if Wales was in Ireland or something really niche that. And then nowadays, I could say I come from Powys, it's near like Wrexham, and people know what Wrexham is. That's weird.
That is weird.
It's strange. People weren't meant to know about Wrexham.
It's upsetting that Wrexham has potentially more cultural knowledge than Wales in general.
Yeah, I think with all the videos I've made, I even posted on my other Twitter, there's like that meme of people swimming. It's like, English history, Scottish history above the water, and then like Welsh history, like drowning. Yeah. But I think over time, and even a little bit by now, I've had some videos I've done pretty well. I sometimes wonder how many people have this really niche knowledge of some very niche, obscure topic about Wales. Because Scottish history is definitely fairly popular, but I don't know how many dedicated people there are to making it.
Or as well, like, I think if you're, again, American or other countries, there's very vague stereotypical ideas of what Scotland is or what Ireland is, for example. Like, I don't know, Scotland is like kilts and bagpipes and Braveheart, which is obviously reductive, but it's like an idea.
It's their idea of it, yeah.
Whereas Wales, I don't know, it doesn't have, outside of the UK, as much impact possibly, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's a big cultural footprint.
And yet it also has a lot of impact on all kinds of pop culture in ways that I think a lot of people don't realize. I mean, one very obvious one is actors. There are a lot of big actors and musicians from Wales, right?
Yeah, it's quite a lot. Even historically, there's been lots of famous ones as well.
Yeah. I think that's one of the very cool things about your channel and this upcoming, or just started by the time you listen to this podcast, is that, it shines a light on history of a place that doesn't get spoken of a lot, both in ways where it's like, oh, people don't know about this, but also it's like, oh, I didn't know this was a Welsh thing. Like one of the episodes we've got lined up is King Arthur, who I think it's becoming slightly more well-known now, but in general, he's thought of as like an English character, right?
Yeah, you see a lot of people attribute a lot of stories to him being some king of England. Also like the opposite way, where a lot of French stories are attributed to being older.
Yeah.
Like the Sword and the Stone is a big one. That's from like 13th century France.
Right,
and people are like, oh, what if the Welsh wrote this story to reference him being from like the Bronze Age? It's like, oh, that's interesting. They didn't though. They didn't even write it in the first place.
Yeah, which is very bizarre. But yeah, I mean, it's very exciting to do. Are there any topics that you're particularly excited to cover on Mad Dogs? Especially maybe that you haven't done on the channel?
Definitely. Yeah, I've got so many notes on just so many random things. We want to do an episode on Malgun, a king from 6th century, famous tyrant who was written about for being extremely tyrannical and violent, which I think would make for a good story.
Yeah.
Very messed up story as well, also. That's the one I've been making notes on recently, because I got notes on almost every topic that I've ever put up in some poll on my channel has had notes on. So it'd be nice to go into that. And we're going over Anun Ddu again, Wikipedia's king who doesn't exist, and answering some like audience questions and going over the guy who made it, how he got banned like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
So I'm excited to see that as well. I enjoyed reading that one out.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
Arguments.
The sort of Wikipedia soap opera of it.
Yes.
But yeah, I keep having to check myself in terms of dreams, I guess, of where it could go, because I don't expect it to do well. But yeah, I have tons of ideas for things I'd like to do. I'd very much like to do, I mentioned to you before, some kind of travel log thing at some point, because we both live quite near the Owain Glyndŵr trail.
Yes.
But yeah, stuff like that. I'm really excited to see places we can take it. And the comedy too.
Yeah, definitely.
So in the last episode, for example, you talked about how you include comedy in your videos, and I find it really interesting how that's progressed.
Quote unquote.
I mean, you say quote unquote, but quote unquote comedy is my favorite type of comedy anyway, I think. It feels like you've started to settle more on a style in terms of that, maybe?
Yeah, I think last time we talked, I still like to include jokes. If I still find them funny, I just try to include them less. Jokes that aren't funny and they make me laugh because they aren't funny, and just the thought of someone hearing them be like, what was that? It makes me laugh. But the problem with that is that second part where they aren't funny. So I don't include them anymore. So if in a recent video you've heard a joke you don't like, yeah, that's on me. That was supposed to be funny. One I rewatched today, my video on Cambrian, which I haven't watched since I made it because it took such a long time. I rewatched it today for the first time in almost an entire year, just for fun. And I included a joke where I said, oh, this manuscript was discovered in the 800 years ago, which is almost as old as you. And then I just kept... That's like, it makes me laugh. It's not really funny. It's not.
Yeah, but it is, though. I love shit like that. Like, you had one recently which made me laugh a lot, which is, I can't remember the exact context, but you're talking about 15 people meeting at once. And you're like,
oh, yeah.
The last time I met 15 people at once was when I crashed into a bus. And then you just continue the video.
I like that one. That one was supposed to be funny. So if you didn't like that one,
if you didn't like that one, fuck you. That's Cambrian Chronicles statement. But yeah, I think we both have crossovers in terms of our sense of humor quite a lot. And that's one of the things I'm excited for about Mad Dogs. We're working out how to balance it a bit. But outside of just our general conversation, tending to have jokes and things and us trying to make each other laugh, I think we both had ideas for like little bits to do. One of the earliest ones I had, which I really like the idea of, is with that we end an episode and it's very normal and we cover whatever topic we've covered. And then we say something like, all right, well, we'll see you next week. We're about to jump out of this plane. And then you just hear like sudden wind sounds and us like screaming. I was running it through my head the other day. I was thinking about, as the podcast like fades out and the music comes in, me screaming something like, Cab, that wasn't a parachute, that was a backpack. Cab, that was a backpack. Cab.
That would happen in real life, to be fair. That's why we can have a good parachute.
I feel like it'd be more likely to be me, though.
You ever seen Point Break?
Yes, yeah. I watched it with you.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Treasured memories. You want me like acid in your mouth.
All-star quarterback, Johnny Utah. That's for all you Point Break fans out there.
The main thing, at least thinking back to our podcast, is I have to work on structuring my words, because if there's not a script there, it just sort of happens and I need to practice.
No, definitely. I mean, there's something that comes to practice. I'm still working on it a ton. Like, part of the reason editing for me takes so long is because I have to fix so many things that if I improved the way I spoke, then I wouldn't have to fix them.
Yes. It's like an old adage that like most of the work with a microphone comes from technique.
Yeah.
And knowing what to do with it. Like you've got the microphone I used to have for my old videos.
I do, I'm using it right now.
If you compare like my letters video to what you sound like, it's like, oh my God.
Thank you. Although that is less technique and more just copious effects on Audacity.
Well, that counts as technique, yeah. I was just doing it under a duvet. That's a big change. Last time we talked, I was still recording under a duvet.
Yes, I was with this for a while, and then I kind of gave up, especially for interviews. It's just not feasible.
Yeah, it's exhausting. I might remember my Kingdom of David video, which is almost 40 minutes long. I was like drenched in sweat by the end of it. It was so, because all the hot air gets trapped.
Yeah.
So you have to vent it all and then and get back under me like, the Kingdom of David. It's like, what a sick joke. I was going to say, one main thing I'm excited for actually with our podcast, very selfishly, is I really liked editing the little visuals.
Yes, I want to talk about the visuals. Yeah. So, for a bit of context first, with Mad Dogs, every episode is going to have a little visual to go along. Compared to the main things on your channel, relatively simpler, partly for the workload, partly because we don't want, for example, if you're listening on Spotify, you to feel like, oh, well, it's not the full experience because I'm not on YouTube, and then dip out.
Yeah.
But there's little bonus stuff, and I was a huge fan of what you did with the introduction.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, it has to be simpler than Cambrian Chronicles. Cambrian Chronicles stuff is never going to be diluted by this stuff, which is why it has to be simpler, so it doesn't affect the other workload. Also, I can do like 6 minutes of animation a day, roughly. It takes me like 6 to 8 hours. So yeah, that's not feasible for like a 40-minute long podcast, so it's like way simpler. But I'm glad you liked it, because I really liked it. It was nice to sort of take the reins off for it to be like the main thing, because the visuals in Cambrian Chronicles I think play a really big part.
Yes.
So for it to sort of take a bit of a backseat and just sort of be like an additional bit, like if you want to watch it on YouTube and have a bit of background.
It's nice.
So in a sense, it almost serves like a second channel.
Yeah, definitely. I think it very much, if you allow me to flatter you, highlights your skills
I will not.
in a very good way. So, for example, the videos on your channel, the visuals in those, are at a point now where they're really, really incredible. Just a very cool... I don't even know how to quite describe them. I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this and you haven't checked out Cam's channel, you definitely should. Obviously, mainly for the historical information. But the visuals are gorgeous. I almost find them like mind-breaking sometimes, because there's a lot of like... You'll be looking at a plane of space with like some images on it, and then suddenly the camera will move out in 3D, and it's like, oh, this is part of a bigger image. It's hard to describe it.
I like doing that. It's almost like a trick. Yeah, and the first time I did that a few times, and I like doing it still now, where it looks like it's just like a still image.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Gotcha. It's actually, technically it's still a 2D space, because, you know, we're 3D organisms, but we don't have to go into that right now.
I'm sorry, that was really uncalled for.
Yeah, it was actually. We had this conversation before, and I thought you were going to disagree with me. That's why I said
Yeah, I think one of the great things about Mad Dog, because obviously we're close friends, so even compared to other episodes on this, we take the piss out of each other much more than I would with most guests, because obviously someone I'm talking to for the first time, I'm not arrogant enough to cross the boundary.
Making fun of them.
Yeah, but yeah, that's good fun. But anyway, yeah, I was going to say, it highlights your skills in a specific way, because the visuals for Mad Dogs are simpler, but they don't look amateur or lesser in quality. They're just less detailed. They're still very smooth.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I love the little bits of text you put up sometimes.
I enjoyed that. I liked taking the piss out of you through my medium. You can't stop me. Until you edit me, you can edit my audio instead.
An endless editing war. But yeah, very good. So I'm excited for those visuals.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was nice to do that.
So I think, to give an example of that, normally at this part of the show is where we perform like a cold reading of a sketch or play a clip of some stand-up or something. But what you're about to hear is a clip from the podcast we've just been talking about. It's from the first episode. And when this is over, you'll be able to click over to the actual podcast on whatever app you're on and listen away. So here it is. Bendigedig. That's wonderful in Welsh.
Bendigedig. In 5th century Wales, there was a king by the name of Anun Ddu, Antonius the Black.
You can find him on the Wikipedia page, the list of rulers in Wales.
According to his paragraph, he ruled over 3 disconnected kingdoms in southern Wales. Gwent, Dyfed, and Brycheiniol.
Not only that, but he was claimed to be king of the Greeks, right smack in the middle of the lineage of Roman emperors, and had ties to Cleopatra.
Oh, and just one more thing. He never actually existed. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Mad Dogs of Cambria. I'm Cambrian Chronicles, the self-proclaimed #1 Welsh history YouTube channel, and I'm joined here by Pat from the illustrious podcast Never As Funny, winner of the coveted Cambrian Chronicles Best Podcast Award.
Illustrious. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't feel like the right word.
It is the right word.
It feels complimentary, so I'll take it. I'm illustrious as hell. But yeah, hello. It's me.
As you heard in the intro, we're both here to talk to you about something very strange. Wikipedia's king who doesn't exist.
That's right, Cam. That sounds so... I feel like we're about to do local radio.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to be like, that's right, Cam. But first, coming up, it's Radioactive by Imagine Dragons. So I feel like we should give it a little bit of context for who this is, what we're talking about. Wikipedia's king who doesn't exist. What is the page this is on, and how did you come across it?
It was on the page, the list of rulers in Wales. In the video I did, I called it the list of rulers of Wales.
What's your problem?
It's probably the favourite video I've ever made.
I really like this one.
But what would be now, about almost possibly 2 years ago, I did my video on the Prince of Wales, and this page was linked on that article.
Yeah.
And I went on there and I noticed something very, very weird. I'd just done this 40-minute video on the Kingdom of Dyfed,
Yeah.
which is another place in South Wales. And then I scrolled down to the Dyfed section, and at the very, very top was a guy who, as far as I'd ever seen in any of the pedigrees, was never mentioned.
Right.
He's not on any of the royal lists.
How did you spot it out of that? Like,
I'd read so much about Dyfed, I knew the...
just out of the huge list, you just saw it.
I knew he wasn't in there.
That's incredibly impressive. How long have you been there? I think you told me before it was like, what, 5 years?
He was added there in 2019.
Crazy.
He was moved the same day I made the video, so
Oh,
he'd been
right.
there for a little over 5 years.
But also, this goes back a lot longer than that, right?
The guy who added him in seems to have conflated several other figures,
Right.
but he wasn't the synthesis for everything. This is based off of medieval manuscripts, these forged genealogies, and then a hoax from the 1800s, and then a hoax from 2019, combined into one guy.
All right, well, hopefully...
Whoa, was that insane? Oh my god. I don't believe it.
That was crazy. Oh my god.
And I don't know about you, but I want to go over to Spotify, Audible, YouTube.
Pocket Casts, Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, YouTube, LimeWire, Napster. Oh, we're two in sync. It's really upsetting that we both said Napster at the same time. We've had this frequently where we both say something way too specifically niche at the same time. Too much brain linkage.
I remember the worst we've ever had was we both referenced a comment we saw on an Instagram meme, which is too many layers too deep.
But yeah, wherever you're going, whatever route you choose, you'll be able to go and listen to that. To wrap things up, let's do a couple of plugs. So your channel, obviously Cambrian Chronicles on YouTube. Is there a specific video you'd like to suggest people go to?
Yes, I would recommend you go check out Cambrian Chronicles on YouTube. 2 words, spelt exactly as you would expect. I would recommend either Wikipedia's King Who Doesn't Exist. Great video, just recently reached 1 million views.
Congratulations.
Thank you. If you told me when I made it that was going to happen, I would not believe you. I'd send you to an insane asylum and have you committed for 1,000 years. And then my most recent one, which is the royal title that no one can remember.
Yes.
About a funny little title/epithet which cannot be translated into English and whose meaning has been completely forgotten. Definitely go give that a watch. In my opinion, as the guy who made it, I think whoever made it did a really good job.
Unironically agree. It's a very good video.
Thank you. I really like that one. It was a personal favourite.
And then would you like to plug your Twitter?
Yes, I suppose so. I have on Twitter at CambrianYT, because Cambrian Chronicles is too long for the handle, and Cambrian Chronic makes you sound like I'm addicted to rocks.
And my plugs, as usual, will be in the outro music anyway.
All one word, all lowercase. Can I do that?
Wait, actually, okay. Yeah, this time...
Oh, I don't know all the details.
Here's what's going to happen. I'll do like a repeat after me thing.
Like a wedding vow.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, this wedding sucks.
Okay. Thank you for making it to the end of the show.
Thank you for making it to the end of the show.
You can find the show on Instagram.
You can find the show on Instagram at Never Is Funny, all one word, all lowercase.
Oh, fire. My number one fan.
It's because the cadence is really memorable.
This part, I won't be offended if you don't remember. The music used in the intro and outro.
The music used in the intro and outro.
Is as always.
There
It Is by Kevin MacLeod.
There it is by Kevin MacLeod.
Incompetech.com.
Licensed under Creative Commons. Incompetech.com.
By Attribution 4.0 license.
By Attribution 4.0 license.
http://
Not S. It's not a secure website.
No. http:// We're running out of time.
http://
creativecommons.org
creativecommons.org
/licenses
/licenses
/buy
/4.0
/4.0. See you next week.
See you next week.
Brilliant. Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay. With that, I've got 1 minute left on the Zoom meeting. I've been Patrick O'Connell. My guest has been Cambrian Chronicles. We'll see you next time. Here comes the music with special guest Cambrian Chronicles doing the delivery.
Don't forget about Mad Dogs of Cambria.
Oh yeah, don't forget about Mad Dogs of Cambria.
Do not.
Go listen to it right after this.
But I'm being completely serious.
I know I have a genuine problem with that. I always sound like I'm joking when talking about serious things. Go listen, please.
Don't forget.
Go listen to it, but not in a desperate way, and just like a friendly.
Yeah,
like,
just
check
like
it
if
out.
If you want.
Yeah.
If you want. But don't forget about it.
Hoyle Vower. That's goodbye Welsh, but I don't know if you knew that, Cam.
Thank you for making it to the end of the show. You can find the show on Instagram at Never Is Funny, all one word, all lowercase. The music used in the intro and outro is, as always, There It Is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons, Incompetech.com, by Attribution 4.0 license, http:// creativecommons.org /licenses /buy /4.0. See you next week.